Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the online information training entitled SEDS GO Funding Opportunity for Growing Organizations. This webinar is intended for potential applicants. This webinar is presented by ANA's Eastern Region Training and Technical Assistance Center, and my name is Dawn David. I'm Mohawk from Akwesasne, and also the training specialist for the Eastern Region. We're glad you could join us to learn more about this new opportunity. For those that are new to the Administration for Native Americans, or ANA, it might interest you to know that ANA is a U.S. federal agency with a mission to promote self-sufficiency for Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Pacific Islanders by providing discretionary grant funding for community-based projects and training and technical assistance to eligible tribes and Native organizations. ANA envisions a nation where all Native communities are thriving. As we begin the webinar, I have the pleasure of introducing the Commissioner of the Administration for Native Americans, Jeannie Hovland. Commissioner Hovland was confirmed by the Senate in June 2018 and oversees ANA's discretionary funding programs. Commissioner Hovland has dual roles as the ANA Commissioner and as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Native American Affairs in the Administration for Children and Families, forming the government-to-government relationship between ACF and Indian tribes. Welcome, Commissioner Hovland.
Alkota chante washte na pe chusa pichto, Jeannie Hovland machiapi, isantio yate matahanchto. Hello friends, I greet you with a good heart. My name is Jeannie Hovland and I'm a proud member of the Flanders Santee Sioux tribe. In my first few months as Commissioner of the Administration for Native Americans, it became apparent that further support was needed to ensure funding reached Native American communities and organizations with significant need who possess limited internal capacity and infrastructure. To address this, I directed ANA staff to create an innovative funding opportunity to address these challenges. The goal is to include the support of organizational strength, capacity building, and improved internal controls. ANA determined the Social and Economic Development Strategies, or SEDS program, as the most appropriate source for meeting these goals. SEDS provides financial assistance to support community-driven projects designed to grow local economics, increase the capacity of tribal governments, strengthen families, preserve Native cultures, and increase self-sufficiency and community well-being. I'm excited to announce that after several months of planning, ANA has developed a new funding opportunity called Social and Economic Development Strategies for Growing Organizations, or SEDS GO. The SEDS GO funding opportunity aims to strengthen internal governance structures and capacity so that tribes and Native organizations who provide community services can run more efficiently and effectively. ANA is committed to helping tribes and Native organizations strengthen their abilities to be more competitive for federal and private sector grants, as well as developing resources and cultivating sound financial and program management systems. The SEDS GO is a funding opportunity that has the flexibility for a 3-year grant with an award ceiling of $200,000 annually. Although it is not required to have a 3-year project duration, the funding opportunity allows the flexibility for 1 year of planning and 2 years of project implementation. I encourage eligible tribes and organizations who would like to apply for this exciting new opportunity to visit the SEDS GO page currently available on the ANA website for the full funding opportunity announcement and helpful tools for applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am also very honored to be able to introduce Ms. Mia Strickland, who will deliver a few opening remarks on behalf of ANA. As the Director of the Division of Program Operations, Mia Strickland works with the program specialist to monitor ANA's portfolio of grantees and also plan and execute the annual new award process. Mia played an integral role in coordinating and overseeing the drafting of the updated FOAs in coordination with a team of dedicated and talented ANA staff members. She has more than 20 years of professional experience in grants management and financial assistance policy, and previously held positions in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Secretary. She gained invaluable experience in grants management and operations while working in the private sector at the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, a Native nonprofit organization representing the nation's tribal colleges and universities, and also as a government contractor that supported the grant award process for multiple federal agencies. She is a member of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. Thank you, Mia, for providing a few words of insight about ANA's exciting new SEDS GO funding opportunity announcement.
The SEDS GO FOA is different from ANA's 5 other FOAs this year. This was done intentionally to allow applicants with limited grant writing experience and staff to be able to submit a competitive application. Unlike ANA's other FOAs, we are asking applicants to propose projects that meet the needs of their internal organization rather than seeking community-driven projects that need the community's approval for planning and implementation. A Native organization must have strong policies and procedures, experienced and trained executive leadership and staff, and systems that enhance the efficiencies and effectiveness of the organization to better serve their Native community. Most ANA FOAs will not support core administration. SEDS GO will. In addition, the application requirements are less structured than the other FOAs. There is no ANA project framework, which includes a current community condition, long-term community goal, outputs, and other elements as well. The objectives are different too. The TTIP objective, found in our other FOAs, which includes the target, timeline, indicator, and population, is not used here because it primarily focuses on how the applicant will make a change in their community. SEDS GO projects are not focused on working with the population in their community, so all the elements of TTIP are not required in the SEDS GO FOA. Instead, the objectives require specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound elements. By framing the objectives using the SMART elements, this will allow the applicant to identify objectives for how they will change their own internal organization that will ultimately enable them to better serve their community. As Commissioner Hovland stated, we're excited to help support Native American tribes and growing organizations that need extra support to enhance their own internal capacity and structures to more effectively serve their membership and communities. The effort to develop this FOA took over a year of hard work between ANA leadership and staff, along with our training and technical assistance providers. Once drafted, it also required multiple levels of review and approval within ANA, the Administration for Children and Families, the Department of Health and Human Services, and ultimately the Office of Management and Budget. I'd like to acknowledge the team that supported the development of this unique FOA, which includes Rondell Clay and Dawn David from the Eastern region, Angela Camos and Charles Peel of the Alaska region, Matt Ing and Napua Harbottle of the Pacific region, and Jenica Batty and Kesley Elmo of the Western region. And the ANA drafting team members included Mark Allender and Sydney Hurst, who crafted the concepts and edits into a finalized document, as well as myself for addressing the various regulatory, statutory, and administrative requirements and procedures involved in the publication of a brand new FOA. And finally, ANA is seeking qualified Native Americans to help review our grant applications this year. The only caveat is that you cannot review applications for a competition that your organization is applying in order to avoid any potential conflict of interest. But ANA has 6 grant competitions this year, which has one session in mid-July and a second session in early August. So if you're applying for SEDS GO, you could be a reviewer for SEDS or any other program. If you're interested in serving as a reviewer or panel chairperson, you'll need to complete a profile in ANA's Reviewer Recruitment module. To get more information and details, please send an email to anareview@grantreview.org. You may also view the ANA website for objective panel review or call the ANA Help Desk at 877-922-9262. Good luck to all applicants.
Thank you again, Mia. So for today's training, the objectives are to 1, provide an overview of the SEDS GO funding opportunity, or FOA, and 2, to understand the FOA evaluation criteria. Although we may be repeating what the Commissioner and Ms. Strickland have already stated, we will review the purpose of SEDS GO, and that is to provide financial assistance to American Indian tribes, Alaska Native villages, and Native nonprofit organizations that identify as growing organizations and seek to build their internal capacity in any 2 of the program areas of interest listed in the SEDS GO FOA. A good place to start the conversation about this new initiative is to define what we mean by growing organizations, which is organizations that are striving to reach their full potential as highly functioning entities able to effectively serve their Native American communities. As with all ANA opportunities, eligible Native American communities include American Indian tribes, both federally recognized and state recognized, Alaska Native communities, Native Hawaiians, and Native Pacific Islanders. So we're going to take this time to actually look at the award information for SEDS GO. SEDS GO uses the same CFDA number, or Catalog for Domestic Assistance, as the regular SEDS award, which is 93.612. The threshold for each budget period is $200,000 per budget period. The allowable project periods are 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months. Although it is not required to have a 3-year project, the funding opportunity will allow the flexibility for 1 year of planning and 2 years of project implementation. SEDS GO has the same CFDA number as SEDS, so applicants are not eligible if you already have an active SEDS award. The number of SEDS GO projects that ANA intends to fund this year is 5. The program areas of interest for this FOA represent different categories of organizational challenges that may be limiting to a growing organization from effectively serving the needs of its members in its Native American community. SEDS GO applicants should choose no more than 2 of the following 8 program areas of interest to target in their proposed project. The areas of interest are staff development. Staff should have the knowledge to administer current organizational programs effectively. Projects might focus on improving current staff capacity to effectively administer project activities or ensuring staff members in each role are qualified to operate effectively. Governance. The necessary policies and procedures should be in place for the governing board to effectively guide the organization. Projects might focus on ensuring tribal codes and ordinances are in place, or ensuring the governing board has the necessary training regarding roles and responsibilities of elected positions. Effective grants management. The organization should have a track record of effective grants management and use of diversified funds. Projects might focus on building capacity in infrastructure to secure and manage diverse funding sources to effectively operate programming, or improving successful management and sustainability of state, federal, or non-federal grants. You could also propose a project ensuring grants compliance and operational oversight, or improve the organization's internal risk assessment to attract additional funders. Strategic or community planning. The organization should have a current document on file that demonstrates the organization's role in supporting the long-term vision of the community it serves. Projects might focus on organizational strategic planning, facilitating long-term community visioning, developing regional growth plans, or developing policies and procedures to engage with the community on an ongoing basis. Financial management systems. Current financial systems and policies and procedures should be in regular use and compliant with 45 CFR Part 75.302, which is the Financial Management and Standards for Financial Management Systems. Projects might focus on developing financial travel, procurement, organizational, and/or HR policies. Could also propose projects that would improve on employee handbooks or reviewing and updating accounting software, charts of accounts, and/or payroll management systems. Use of technology. The organization should have technological equipment, software, and/or network infrastructure it needs to serve its community effectively, along with the necessary policies and procedures for safe and responsible use. Projects might focus on updating computer hardware and software, improving internet access and infrastructure reliability, or improving policies governing internet access, equipment use, inventory requirements, and/or social media. Ability to track and manage data. The organization should have the systems and knowledgeable staff necessary to secure, collect, manage, and analyze data in order to track project outcomes and make informed data evidence decisions. Projects might focus on improving databases used to track data, updating data software used such as Excel or Access, developing processes used to collect, manage, and analyze data, or training staff on software and/or evaluation skills. And lastly, partnerships. The organization should leverage healthy partnerships, preferably documented, with all external organizations it must work with in order to serve its community effectively. Projects might focus on forming memorandums of agreement or understanding with current and new partners, increasing programs, training, and/or professional development opportunities, establishing recruitment pools, outreach and/or communication procedures, or improving economic development opportunities with federal agencies, state agencies, and/or foundations. Letter of intent. The letter of intent is not a requirement of your application. However, when submitted, ANA will notify the appropriate regional TA center to reach out and provide technical assistance if desired. It will also help ANA plan for the number of reviewers needed to evaluate the applications. So let's go through some information to include in your letter of intent. You want to include the number and title of the announcement, the name and legal address of the applicant organization, the name, phone, email of the contact person for your application. The letter of intent is due on June 15th, 2020, and you're going to submit the letter by email to anacomments@acf.hhs.gov. Even if you do not submit a letter of intent, we highly encourage you to take advantage of the services provided by your regional ANA Training and Technical Assistance Center. The Technical Assistance Centers provide pre-application training. We're also there to answer any questions you have during your project development. We can share resources such as templates, toolkits, videos to assist you with your application. We provide electronic technical assistance, which is the one-on-one feedback on your draft application when it's 75% complete. And once you receive an award, the regional TA centers provide the post-award training and which review the program and financial reporting and project implementation. And the slide shows you the regional offices. The Eastern region is the pink area, which starts with North Dakota, and if you go straight down to Texas and all points east is the Eastern region. The Western region is everything west of that on the continental United States. Alaska region is for Alaska, and the Pacific region covers Hawaii, American Samoa, CNMI, and Guam. Let's review the SEDS timeline. The SEDS GO FOA was published on May 14th. The letter of intent is due 30 days later, which brings us to June 15th. So the deadline for your letter of intent is to submit by June 15th. The deadline for the SEDS GO application is July 13th. During the month of August, your application will undergo panel review, and the new awards will have a project start date of September 30th. Once you've submitted your application, it'll be reviewed and evaluated using the criteria described in this section. The corresponding point values indicate the relative importance placed on each review criterion. Applicants should address these criteria in their application materials, particularly in the project description and budget justification, as they are the basis upon which completing applications will be judged during the objective review. The required elements of the project description and budget justification may be found in sections 4.2 of the FOA. If you're familiar with the other standing FOAs, you will immediately notice that the review criteria and verbiage for SEDS GO is unique. It was designed with the growing organization's needs and capacity in mind. So let's begin. The evaluation criteria, again, is located in section 5.1 of the SEDS GO FOA, and these are the criteria. The approach section has a maximum of 70 points. Under approach, the subcriteria are the introduction to the project, which is a maximum of 6 points. The targeted challenge or challenges with a maximum of 6 points. The project goal has a maximum of 3 points. SMART objectives, maximum 10 points. The objective work plan, which is a maximum of 20 points. The project approach, which is a maximum of 25 points. The organizational capacity has a potential of 15 points, and the budget and budget justification also has a maximum of 15 points. And there is the potential to have bonus points, which is an additional 5 points, and we'll get into that on a further slide. The following slides will go through each element under each subcriterion that applicants must address. Each element on the slide is numbered and follows the same numbering as the evaluation criteria. And as always, you will want to refer to the FOA as the last word in writing your application. Approach. This section of the review criteria includes all components of the approach in order to implement the project. As applicants, you will be designing projects that aim to build capacity. Once you submit your applications, reviewers will evaluate if the approach is effective in addressing the challenges faced by the organization, and if it clearly demonstrates feasible implementation strategies to achieve the project goal and objectives. In reaching their conclusion, reviewers will consider the degree to which responses to the following criteria are well thought out, well designed, and well described. Let's begin with element 1. The first under the introduction of the project. The first element will ask applicant to describe the applicant organization. The description should include information about the governing body, the size of the organization, including the number of staff, annual operating budget, and the community the organization serves. Element 2 asks applicant to demonstrate the organization's connection to the community by describing the services the organization provides and/or how the organization supports community needs and interests. In addition, you will provide documentation from community members demonstrating their use of and interest in organizational services relating to your mission statement. This may be included as application attachments in the form of letters, sign-in sheets, meeting minutes, survey results, or other documents from non-staff and non-partner community members. To address the third element, applicants should describe their current capacity challenges and how the challenges justified the need for the project. Targeted challenge. The SEDS GO FOA uses the term targeted challenge instead of current community condition, or if you're been around A&A for a long time, it used to be called the problem statement. But so for SEDS GO, it'll be targeted challenge. To address element 4, the applicant will identify up to 2 targeted organizational challenges from those identified in the previous slides. And those are also listed in section 1 of the program description and program areas of interest of the SEDS GO FOA. You're going to provide a clear rationale for why the proposed project should focus on capacity building efforts on each of those chosen challenges. Describe past efforts that have been taken to address this challenge. You should also provide information on the baseline condition of the targeted challenge, which will be used as a starting point to measure the change you hope to achieve by the end of the project. To address element Number 5, you're going to target up to 2 organizational challenges from those identified in section 1 of the FOA. You will also provide a clear rationale for why the proposed project should focus capacity building efforts on each of the chosen targeted challenges. To address element 6, the project goal is a statement describing what is to be achieved by the project's implementation. To address this element, describe how the project goal will address the targeted challenges in a brief statement. In addition, identify how achieving this goal will positively impact the organization and its mission. For those of you that are familiar with recent ANA FOAs, please note for the SEDS GO FOA, you will be using SMART objectives, not TTIP, which include target, timeline, indicators, and population. TTIP objectives are for the other ANA FOAs, while we will be using SMART objectives for the SEDS GO. To address element 7, SEDS GO requires outcome-oriented objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant and time-bound, or SMART. Each objective must be specific, which means a specific area of improvement or change. Must be measurable, which means providing a quantifiable target to show the amount of change. Achievable, which is given the proposed time frame, approach, and resources. Relevant, which should be relevant to the project goal. And time-bound, with an end date reflecting completion within the project period. For element number 8, each objective should have a defined outcome statement. Outcomes are defined as measurable changes that result from the project. There is potential for a project to achieve multiple outcomes, but however, ANA requires that one outcome be identified per objective. To address element 9, keep in mind an indicator is an observable and measurable characteristic that can be used to show the project is making progress towards achieving a specific outcome. Your application should have a specific indicator for each objective's outcome that can be tied to measuring progress towards achieving that outcome. Objective work plan. For those of you who are familiar with the other ANA FOAs, you will find that the OWP from the SEDS GO FOA is essentially the same. To address element 10, you'll provide an OWP that mirrors the project's implementation plan from the narrative, identifying the key elements identified earlier, such as the project goal, objectives, milestone activities, outputs and outcomes, staff responsible, and time frame for the completion of each activity. In addition, you will be sure to be very consistent with the wording of the components throughout the application, meaning that the verbiage for objectives in the narrative are stated the same as it is in the OWP. Element 11 reminds you that you are allowed 25 maximum milestone activities per objective per year. This does not include the required administrative activities that we will mention in element 14. Element 12 evaluates how well the milestone activities logically lead to the achievement of each objective. For element 13, keep in mind an output is a tangible product directly related to the completion of a milestone activity. Output should be included in the appropriate column of the OWP for each milestone activity. Element 14 evaluates how well you included the required administrative activities. Administrative activities are reporting, attendance at the post-award training and the annual grantee meeting, project staff orientation, data collection and evaluation, and establishing federal system account access and the official grant file. Administrative activities are not included as part of the milestone activities and should be listed in the OWP for each year of the project. Project approach. To address element 15, an applicant will provide the rationale and strategy to overcome the targeted challenges identified earlier. Applicants should be sure that this strategy will lead to the accomplishment of the project objectives and goal. In order to address element 16, the applicant must be mindful that the project approach narrative is meant to expand upon the details provided in the OWP rather than duplicate it. This element requires a fully detailed implementation plan that aligns with the milestone activities of the OWP. Element 17 asks you to describe the expertise, roles, and responsibilities of any partners, consultants, and/or contractors. Be sure to identify the resource or work to be completed by the third parties. Describe how the identified parties are qualified and appropriate. A&A understands that all projects will experience challenges that may delay the implementation of projects, and this is why they ask applicants to identify some that are likely to occur and provide a backup plan to remedy. For element 18, consider common setbacks such as staff turnover, late hirings, partnerships falling through, and provide the contingency plan so that your project implementation can continue without suffering delays. Element 19 asks you to identify a monitoring plan for the progress of your project. To achieve this, consider each objective and outline how each measurable achievement can be tracked and evaluated. You will also need to identify the person or persons responsible for the tracking and evaluation. Identify any tools that will be used and the frequency of data collection, and describe how the data will be used to improve your project. For element 20, your narrative will describe how milestone activities will be accomplished. Organizational capacity. Applicants will most likely find organization capacity is the area they need to build. Be sure to address the criteria demonstrating your current capacity, ensuring key staff, consultants, and management have the expertise, knowledge, and/or credentials needed to address the targeted challenges. If the organizational capacity is a stated target challenge, then the applicant should describe the partnerships and/or leverage resources that will address it. Reviewers will consider the degree to which your response to the following criteria are well thought out, well designed, and well described. To address element 21, the applicant needs to provide a current organizational chart demonstrating current infrastructure and any positions to be hired under the project. For element 22, this is the applicant's chance to highlight their organizational strengths relating to their capacity. Identify any history of successful grant performance, experience with employees, administrative staff, board members, and/or consultants. Be sure to describe how these strengths will be used to achieve the project goal. Element 23 asks you to demonstrate your plan to effectively manage third parties, such as partners and consultants. Be sure to describe your process to recruit, hire, and evaluate their work during the project, and identify who is responsible for overseeing them. To address element 24, the applicant is asked to describe their capacity to manage federal funds. You want to provide information on the organizational, partner, employee, and/or board level that demonstrates experience and success in areas such as project management, programmatic and financial reporting, governance, and community planning. Budget and budget justification. When preparing the budget and budget justification, reviewers will consider the degree to which your application designates adequate resources to carry out the expected proposed activities, while ensuring that the proposed costs are reasonable. In reaching their conclusion, reviewers will determine the degree to which your application responds to the following criterion elements. Again, the budget subcriterion should be very familiar to those who have experience with A&A, as it is basically the same as other FOAs. So let's get on to element number 25. To address element 25, you will need to provide a line item budget for each year of your proposed project. The line items should identify all necessary expenditures to implement the project, as well as the required travel for post-award training and the annual grantee meeting for 2 personnel. A&A has a budget template available on their website, and it can be used or it can be provided by one of the regional TA centers. The budget template is not a requirement, but you will find it very helpful. For element 26, be sure to identify the expenses for both your federal request and your non-federal share. And you'll be using the budget template. Will help you out with this as it's already laid out. For element 27, you will provide a budget justification for each year of the project that describes how costs were calculated for each expenditure in the line item budget. To address element 28, Applicants are to ensure that costs included in the budget align with the activities stated in the OWP and further described in the project approach narrative. In addition, be sure that all expenditures are reasonable and explain instances where your fair market value for an expense might be higher than average. For instance, if you are geographically remote or only have seasonal access, you should include that in your justification narrative as well. For element 29, you will want to include vendor quotes, cost estimates for those items under equipment, which is defined as a single unit item having a useful life of more than 1 year and costs more than $5,000 per unit. You also want to include vendor quotes or estimates for any unique purchases that most people may not be familiar with. Include vendor quotes or results from an internet search or in the attachments as part of your application. And finally, element 30, provide documentation such as a tribal or board resolution, a memorandum of understanding from a partner that demonstrates the commitment to providing the required 20% non-federal match. Be sure the amounts from the documentation and budgets align and include the documentation as an attachment in the appendix section of your application. The 5 bonus points. In an attempt to provide a greater advantage for certain applicants for growing organizations, reviewers will award 5 bonus points for applicants that have never received funding from ANA in the past as the primary recipient. Include documentation or information in your application. ANA staff will verify during the objective panel review process. In addition to contacting your regional TTA center, additional resources that you may find very helpful are the SEDS GO application toolkit, and it is the cover is on the left-hand part of your screen. The toolkit contains resources to assist in the development of your application. You will also find a budget template. You may find that the budget template is a great asset in pulling together your application. Not only does the budget template have the required formatting to include the federal request, non-federal share, and totals columns, all of the budget class categories are included, and it has formulas for all the totals and the non-federal share calculation built in. Both resources can be found on the ANA website, or you can request from your regional TA center. And the ANA's website is on the screen, which is www.acf.hhs.gov/ANA. And I find it's easy to find resources on the ANA website if you go straight to the search bar and enter in the resource that you're looking for, such as the SEDS GO toolkit, and you enter that into the search bar, or maybe the 2020 budget template. So with that, we're concluding our webinar, and we're going to throw up the contact information for the Administration for Native Americans, which includes their toll-free number, 1-877-922-9262, and their website. Thank you very much for attending, and good luck on your application.